How could I let a suspect slip through my fingers? I smiled and said it casually. Soon, 3 people came out, 1 man and 2 women, all very young. The faces of all 3 were filled with uncertainty, fear, and sadness. One of the girls had even gone red in the face. I walked toward her. Just as I was about to speak, she couldn't hold back and burst into tears. How could Fi be dead? She was such a good person. How could this happen? The words poured out of her, tears streaming down her face. I grabbed a tissue from the table nearby and handed it to her. You must have been close to Huang Fei. I'm Fei's assistant. I've been sick for the past 2 days. She insisted I go home and rest. I only recovered today and came back to work. I never expected something like this to happen. I could tell the girl was genuinely ill. She kept coughing, and her voice was thick with a heavy cold. I gave a small nod. I didn't press further. Instead, I moved on to the young man. He took a deep breath before speaking. It was my turn for a business trip. I only got back today and you. I turned to the last girl. There was something different about her. Su Wanrong's eyes had barely left her, because when we announced that Huang Fei had died, this girl's face had filled with shock, but underneath it there was a flicker of relief. It vanished quickly, but not quickly enough to escape Su Wanrong's 20 years of experience. My instincts told me this girl had some kind of history with Huang Fei. I studied her carefully as I asked, "Hey, what about you? Why weren't you here?" I had something to take care of back home, so I put in for leave. How many days? A week. She said it plainly. I let out a slow smile. 7 days. That's quite a lot. Was there something serious going on at home? No, I was just tired. I needed a break. She kept her answer short. I turned away and said nothing more. 7 days. Enough time for someone to research another person's crime, study it in detail, and pull off a near-perfect copy. Enough to replicate it down to the finest detail. Listen carefully, I said. Many of you may have heard of this case before. One of you here is connected to the Deputy Director of the Capital's Public Security Bureau. What does that mean? When the victim was found, her entire body had been bound with rope. Her head was forced to the ground. There was blood across her back. Anyone who has lived in this city for more than 10 years will know exactly what that means. Had barely finished speaking when a middle-aged man in the room went pale. It was Deng, Daki's sharp-eyed subordinate. The serial murders. Yes, the serial murder case from 10 years ago. My voice dropped. The way Mr. Huang was killed is identical to the 9 victims from back then. And just now, the girl whose face showed a flicker of relief the moment she heard that, she flinched. The relief in her eyes was completely gone. When she looked up, her voice had gone tight. Why are you looking at me like that? I didn't kill anyone. I smiled coldly. But you had a grudge against her, didn't you? She slapped me once, but I did not kill her. I never said you did, I replied calmly. I only said you had a grudge against the victim. Don't get so worked up. That. Almost every pair of eyes in the room shifted to the other girl. She was becoming more and more flustered, her eyes darting around the room. Su Wanrong stepped closer to me. Wait, you suspect her? She said quietly. She looked genuinely devastated. When you announced the death, her expression was one of real pain. For a moment, I almost thought she was the one, but now I understand. I turned and walked straight to the sick girl. I nearly forgot what's your name. The sick girl looked startled. She answered quietly, my name is Wang Wei. All right, Wang Wei, I'd like you to come with Yusto, the hospital parking lot, I said with a smile. Why should I go? I had nothing against Fi. The smile on my face shifted into something sharper. I didn't say you did, but didn't you say you two were close? You should come and see her one last time. Right, I'll go. She finally gave a small nod. I smiled and then suddenly took hold of Wang Wei's hand. Even with everyone watching you, I said, don't worry. You are the murderer. The office went dead silent. Every eye landed on me and on Wang Wei in my grip. Then someone snapped out of it. Zian, are you sure about this? How could Wang Wei have killed Manager Wang? You said yourself the case matches the serial murders from 10 years ago. Shouldn't the killer be the same person from back then? And there has to be a motive. Wang Wei has no motive. That's right. Wang Wei is terrified of bugs. And Manager Huang helped her. She had gambling debts. Manager Huang paid them off for her. Several colleagues chimed in. They turned immediately to the one who mentioned gambling. She gambled. Yes, she got pulled into online gambling by accident. The debts piled up fast. When the creditors showed up at the office, causing a scene, it was Manager Huang who dealt with them and sent them away. Something cold settled in my chest. I looked at Wang Wei the way a hawk watches its prey. I really hoped this wouldn't turn out to be a story of the farmer and the snake. I had her taken to the station. A separate team was sent to search her home. Wang Wei's face had gone pale. I only came to say goodbye to Fi. Why are you treating me like a murderer? You couldn't catch the killer 10 years ago. Now that another crime has been committed, you still can't catch the right person. Why are you coming after me? I said, you seem to know a lot about that case. I closed my eyes briefly. Su Wanrong, standing beside me, caught on. Wang Wei turned to face me. Is something wrong with what I said? If you'd caught a killer back then, Fi would still be alive. Don't you think you should own that? Let's move forward then. That cut on your hand is fresh. You've been doing a lot of manual work lately. You're an assistant. Does the job usually require that kind of physical labor? She tried to change her story, but I wasn't going to give her the opening. 2 things stood out to me. 1, we just said that Huang Fei's death is identical to the murders 10 years ago. Why did you suddenly seem to relax when we said that? And 2, when the attention shifted to your colleague, why did you look almost relieved? I've spent too long inside the minds of criminals to be fooled easily. Experience has taught me that the guilty party is almost always the person you'd least expect, and the killer will always fight hardest to protect themselves. Wang Wei had walked in looking genuinely heartbroken. Even Su Wanrong was moved by it. But I don't trust tears. Emotion clouds judgment. Wang Wei's lips were trembling. You're reading into nothing. You're completely wrong. I ignored her and called my colleague, Li Hong. I asked whether Wang Wei had recently tried to borrow money from Huang Fei. The call connected. Li Hong sounded exhausted. She came to her about 2 weeks ago, then came back a few more times after that. But Huang Fei said no. She even told Wang Wei that if she couldn't sort out her finances, she'd have to let her go. I thanked her and hung up calmly. Li Hong's voice came again before I could. You think it's Wang Wei? But didn't you say the killer was the same person from 10 years ago? We never confirmed the killers were the same. We only said the methods were similar. Stared directly at Wang Wei, slow and deliberate. So let me see if I have this right. You tried to borrow money multiple times. Huang Fei refused and even threatened to fire you. So you snapped and you acted. Wang Wei's eyes went wide. Her lips trembled. Several seconds passed before she spoke. I won't pretend I did, but I worked through it. She wasn't wrong to say no. And where's your proof? You can't convict someone on theory. She even managed a small smile. Don't worry, I said. The evidence is coming. In just a few hours, there won't have been enough time to erase every trace. Huang Fei died at 3:30 in the morning. It's barely 8 or 9 a.m. now. She needed time to cover her tracks. The way she looked right now, she could barely hold herself together, let alone stage a crime scene well enough to mimic a 10-year-old case. I told the team to skip the hospital, go straight to her home. The team already there should have turned something up. Wang Wei flinched at that, just slightly, but it was enough. I gave the order to move out. Wang Wei's apartment was 10 minutes from the office. She stayed quiet the entire ride. 2 patrol cars were already waiting waiting downstairs when we arrived. A middle-aged officer came hurrying over to meet us. Professor Su, the Shao. Glad you're here. Su Wanrong shook her head with a small smile. Just doing our job? Has the Bureau been notified? Yes. The order came down. Solved the case within 1 week, given how closely it mirrors the case from 10 years ago. He hesitated, and the mayor held a meeting this morning. He made it clear if a case like this happens again, every department in the city will answer for it. Su Wanrong's smile turned sharp. We'll take a week. We'll close it today. A ripple of energy went through the group. Today, to be exact, I said, glancing at Wong. Within the hours, isn't that right, Miss Wong? She said nothing. An officer came down from upstairs. Report. We searched the suspect's apartment. No suspicious items found, no weapons, no bladed objects. Wang Wei finally allowed herself a smile. Officer, do you believe me now? Don't worry, I said lightly. Let's go up. I'm relaxed. I paused. Actually, is there any water? I've been talking for a while. I'm a bit thirsty. Su Wanrong raised an eyebrow slightly. The family never lets their guard down in front of a suspect, Wang Wei said quietly. We took her up to the 4th floor. The search team had already been through the place. It was in disarray. I spotted the water dispenser. I poured a cup for Su Wanrong first. Then I took my own and began moving slowly around the apartment. When I reached the bathroom doorway, I stopped. My eyes dropped to the floor. Su Wanrong came up beside me. The Yang, what is it? I pointed downward. Don't you think there's a lot of water on the floor here? I turned back toward Wang Wei. Miss Wang, do you make a habit of bathing in the morning? Wang Wei's eyes flickered. Yes. What of it? Water in a bathroom? Of course, that's not unusual in itself. The thing is, you're as sick as you are. And you still took a cold bath first thing this morning? That takes a certain kind of nerve. I moved to the one closed door in the apartment. The place wasn't large. From the state of things, it was clear she hadn't been living comfortably lately. The gambling debts had taken their toll, but when I opened the door, something caught my eye immediately. In Wang Wei's room stood a large mannequin doll. It had been handled, bent, and manipulated, its limbs repositioned. Get me a rope. Wang Wei's body went rigid. Su Wanrong seemed to already understand, but said nothing. The officer, confused, handed one over anyway. I picked up the doll and examined it. There were faint pressure marks around its joints, signs of repeated practice. Wang Wei's face had drained of all color. I pulled the doll's arms back behind it. How was this possible? Someone behind me gasped. Why wouldn't it be? I responded without turning. I kept going. Slowly, the doll took on the same bound posture as the victim at the crime scene. Not quite finished, but close enough. Wang Wei suddenly let out a sharp, broken cry. Stop. Stop tying it. She sank to the floor, head down, breathing hard. I crouched in front of her. Is there anything left to say? She lifted her head. Her face was hollow. How did you know to look at me from the very start? How did you see the marks on the doll the moment you opened that door? How could you just tie it into that position? Su Wanrong allowed herself a quiet smile. The case was closed. I stayed crouched where I was, quiet for a moment. Wang Fei did more for people in this company than almost anyone. When I announced her death, everyone in that room was shocked. Except you, he cried immediately. Isn't that what someone who's close to her would do? Her voice was faint, but you weren't surprised. Then I noticed the marks on your hand. That told me even more. And when a colleague mentioned the gambling debts, I was certain. I looked at her. It's a sad thing. This really is the story of the farmer and the snake. What farmer and snake? Her voice had gone quiet, but something shifted in it. I paid her back. Was I not allowed to ask for help one more time? She watched me get beaten by debt collectors and did nothing. If I was going to go down anyway, I decided we'd go down together. Something lit up briefly in her eyes before fading. Do you have any idea I gave her everything? Every design concept I had. I handed it all over just to try and get the loan, and she took my work, and then tried to fire me. Tell me, didn't she deserve what happened? There was a weight in my chest. I didn't know if it was coincidence or something more, but at that exact moment, her phone rang. Answer it, I said. You're not at that point yet. Hello. She picked up. A clear, professional voice came through the other end. Hello? Is this Ms. Wang Wei of Shinhai Design Company? This is the review panel for the Light Cup Design Competition. Your submitted work has cleared the preliminary round. Please report to the competition venue within 3 days to be eligible for the finals. Wang Wei froze. Su Wanrong and I both went still. Ms. Wang. Did you hear us? Ms. Wang. Wang Wei began to shake. She couldn't get a word out. Then the tears came, not like before. Something roared. She let out a sound, not quite a word, and just kept asking, why didn't you tell me? Why? I stood up. I had nothing to say. In my mind, what she did was unforgivable. But if she ever walked out of prison, there would be a chance to make something right. Su Wanrong stepped forward and put the handcuffs on. As Wang Wei was brought to her feet, she looked at me and asked whether I'd known she was the one all along. The Yang you knew from the beginning, didn't you? You just didn't have time to deal with the doll before we got here, right? And your illness that came from the cold water and the air conditioning after the murder. Am I right? I asked her directly. She went quiet, then nodded once. From the moment she refused me the first time, I knew I couldn't just let it go, so I started planning. Her voice had gone steady. I spent half a month going through everything I could find on the case from 10 years ago. I studied it until I had it memorized. 2 days ago, I went to her again. She screamed at me. That was when I made up my mind. Last night, after it was done, I was scared of being found out. I came back, like you said, soaking in cold water. I ran the air conditioning and spent time with the doll. You're right, I'd been practicing the binding for half a month, but the doll was too big to throw away. And I genuinely thought no one would ever suspect me. Once she'd said everything, I lost interest in hearing more. I'd been right. Take her. Mom, can we arrange a press conference? We need to make a public statement about last night's case. Otherwise, people will start questioning how we operate. Su Wanrong gave a slow, satisfied nod. Wang Wei was let out. At the door, she stopped. The Yang. Everyone. If I ever make it out of prison, I'll spend the rest of my life making up for what I did. If you ever get the chance, please go to Huang Fei's grave and tell her I'm sorry. She looked like she wanted to say more, but in the end, she swallowed it and walked out. After she was gone, the tension in the room broke. Everyone exhaled. Su Wanrong turned to me and raised her thumb. Her eyes were bright, son. I'm proud of you today. Later, I learned what had been happening on the other side of the city while all of this unfolded. Back at the gangbang's office, the room had been packed. He sat at the head of the table with the case file in front of him, looking over the faces of the room before speaking. Settle down. The Capital Bureau has already made a public commitment. 1 week. He paused, then let out a short, dry laugh. Someone in the room muttered, Shao Qiniang is really pushing this. Can you blame them? It's their jurisdiction. They have every right. His father didn't seem particularly rattled. Right now, the only thing that matters is closing the case. What are your read on it? A man with glasses leaned forward. The case is both complicated and straightforward. The complication is that it's an almost perfect creation of the serial murders from 10 years ago. The simplicity is that if it truly matches, the original killer may have resurfaced. Paused. He glanced at his father. When the murders happened 10 years ago, Minister Li had just taken over as acting director of the Capital Bureau. The timing of this new case, it doesn't feel like a coincidence. The only thing I'm discussing right now is the case itself. You are all my closest colleagues. No one in the city knows that case better than the people in this room. The murder had surfaced in the early hours of the morning. By now, it would be spreading across the city. If they couldn't close it quickly, the fallout would reach every department. His expression was grim, but as he laid out the situation, no one offered anything meaningful. One by one, he looked around the room. No idea. No leads. His father's heart sank. Perhaps the long stretch of peace had dulled something in all of them. Then there was a knock at the door. The assistant opened it. An officer burst in, barely able to contain himself.
Minister, good news. What's the rush?
Can't you see we're in the middle of something? Someone snapped. The officer caught his breath, embarrassed. I got carried away. I just got word the murder case from this morning has been solved. The room went dead. 2, maybe 3 seconds of complete silence. Then everyone was on their feet. Are you serious? They caught the killer from 10 years ago? Finally, the bastard's finally going to answer for it. His father's face showed genuine surprise, but the officer's expression faltered. There's been a development, sir. What kind of development? Leader, the killer isn't the same person from 10 years ago. That's impossible. The rope binding, the victim's injuries, the blood across her back. Every detail pointed straight back to 10 years ago. Exactly. We know those methods better than anyone. He operated alone for decades. It couldn't be wrong. His father looked as confused as the rest of them. Then a voice carried in from beyond the doorway. Calm, assured. And that's exactly what we were all supposed to think. Everyone in that room was taken in by the method. Everyone but one person, the Gen Bang. Your family raised someone remarkable who gave you permission to address the minister by name. Only one person ever speaks to him that way. Sue, Wanrong? What exactly are you saying? His father was still trying to piece it together. She nodded, composed and confident. The killer had studied the original method carefully enough to replicate the binding almost exactly. We'd been analyzing the victim for hours and missed it. The Yang looked at the scene for 3 seconds and spotted the difference. And in just over an hour, he had the culprit in handcuffs. The room fell completely silent.